Hello Internet, Raptor7717 here with a review of the Monteverde stroke Yafa Poquito pens. I have them here in kind of a set, the pink ones of both versions. This isn't a set, as you might be able to tell by the kind of off colors. This is the Monteverde Poquito, and this is the Yafa Poquito pen and pencil set. Monteverde is owned by Yafa. So, I'm going to get this out of the way. This is a fountain pen, by the way. And there is a new ballpoint version of this. I'll explain why I don't have that here in a second. But first we'll look at the Poquito pen and pencil set. First we'll look at the pencil, which is kind of unimpressive. We've got a little push button at the top. The clip says Yafa. Ooh. And it's not focusing. Anyway. It's got kind of a little rounded bit at the end. It does go into a pocket well. It's not the most attractive design. You got a ring here. You have the barrel of the pen, which comes down to this little point where your lead comes out. Ooh. It doesn't come out very well, but it comes out. Anyway, it does work when you need it to work. You unscrew the pen, and you find that that ring is not actually a separate ring, but attached to the body of the pen. And you have what is essentially a cartridge that you can put lead into. I should mention that my pen came with broken lead, so it was unusable. And I had to find new lead. So the lead in here does not come with the pen. However, the ink in this pen did. You have a stylus. They call it a stylus. It'd really be, if it was a stylus for a touchscreen, it would be for the old resistive touchscreens, a similar design clip, except this one has kind of a bit of a point. And yes, it does go into a shirt really easily. You've got a ring that actually protrudes out of the pen. The rest of the top and the rest of the bottom are the same. There's a little metal ring here, and you can see the ballpoint poking out. Give it a twist. It is really firm, and you didn't see that because it was out of focus. No, it's just not working. It's very firm, and I'm holding this at a really awkward angle, so if I were to do it better, it would. It's still really kind of hard to twist. Anyway, if you pull the top off here and you shake everything on camera, you discover that there's a little mini cross-like cartridge system. This plastic bit does pop off the cartridge, so if you need to replace the cartridge, you will not get that plastic bit. You need to buy the actual cartridge. Now, the paint on these pens is nice. It feels slick. It's not slippery in the hand or anything. I can write with it for a while, which, notice how small this pen is. But it does, after some time, wear off. And I have an old Poquito Gold here. This is really old, and you can see it's worn off a bit there, and it's worn off a bit up at the top here. That pen is 7 or 8 years old, so it takes a while to wear off, but it does wear off, especially if you don't treat it the best in the world, if you just kind of throw it in your pocket. The box for this was unspectacular, by the way. There's no real need for you to have seen it. So yeah, it's a nice pen and pencil set. I will give you a writing sample when I give you a writing sample of the fountain pen, which we're going to get to now by looking at a box. This is a Monteverde box, not a Yafa box, but Monteverde is owned by Yafa. So is a couple other semi-luxury brands like Delta fountain pens. MonteverdePens.com. You take this open and you have the story of Monteverde, and your pen is actually clipped into there. And they have, also in here, if I can ever actually get it out, there it is, this thing that shows you that there is a ballpoint version of the Poquito from Monteverde. And it has the same barrel as these older Yafa Poquitos, but it has a different top. And you might notice that this fountain pen has a different barrel and the same top, which means that the Poquito fountain pen and ballpoint that come from Monteverde look completely different from each other. So the ones that look similar are the ones that I have over here, which is why I have them. The box is otherwise unspectacular. It has the Monteverde logo on it, though, which is quite nice. So now we're going to actually take a good look at the pen. The pen has that same stylus on the top, which I should note on the Ballpoint Poquito from Monteverde is actually a proper competitive touchscreen stylus, so it actually would work on your iPhone or iPad or Android phone or Windows phone or whatever. Here you have the clip, which has a very difficult to see even with the naked eye, even harder to see on camera Monteverde logo. It looks a bit like the Schiffer white dot that hasn't been filled in. You have the same clip design, which is very nice to fit in a pocket, although it is kind of ugly. The bottom of the cap here says Monteverde Poquito, Monteverde USA, by the way. You have a band that is again sunken in, more like the pencil. You can notice that this has more of a speckled pink design. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I'm not the biggest fan of the color pink in the first place, but these speckles kind of bother me. They'd bother me in any color. I don't know. There's just something about them. If there was some sort of pattern, I would like that more. Anyway, on the bottom you actually get this kind of little reverse jewel. You usually don't have jewels on the bottom. It has nothing about it. It's just kind of shiny chrome. You uncap the pen, and you get a nib that looks comically large for this pen. It is actually pretty large for the pen. And you get a section that is surprisingly easy to grip, although note how it kind of jabs in there, so you must post this pen, which by the way it does do fairly securely, although it doesn't look the best when posted. It's not really designed to look like that. Unscrew the barrel, which is made of brass, by the way, on all of these. You get a cartridge that came with it that I installed and have been using. The pen will fit the Cave converter, which is the Caveco converter for the Caveco Sport. It doesn't fit it well. It doesn't actually like to accept cartridges. I felt like I was almost breaking the pen when I was putting the cartridge in, and that was a bit of a problem. I didn't particularly like that, but I guess it does hold it in firmly. You don't want to be swapping cartridges that often, or converters, which is why I want to go with the Caveco converter as soon as possible, but I might as well use up the cartridge it came with. It does not fit this, which is the Monteverde mini converter, which is interesting because it fits the one by another brand, but it does not fit the one by its own brand. It looks like it might fit if you line them up against each other, but it in fact does not. In fact, it doesn't. It barely even fits like that. It just doesn't fit, which is unfortunate. But anyway, it's fairly robust. I think it'll have the same paint problems as the previous Poquito, just because of the way it's applied to the brass. It is an all brass pen, which means that the pen itself will hold up very well. The paint might not. The chrome trim might get some scratches and stuff like that, but there really isn't much chrome trim. It caps securely, and it posts securely. You can post it in a way that it's not very secure. Actually, you can't. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's kind of hard. It's hard to post in a way that's not secure, but it must be posted the right way. So, yeah, I will be back in just a moment with a writing sample. Okay, here we are writing with the. Can you see me? Yafa Poquito, which by the way does not mean go in a pocket. Poquito means small. The Yafa Poquito ballpoint. You don't really need to see too much more of this. It is a medium. It's just Yafa black or whatever. Actually, it's more of a fine. They say it's a medium, but it's more of a fine tipped pen. It writes fairly smoothly. although you do have to press down quite hard sometimes. It never... it does have some startup issues too, because there's no shielding at all when you twist the tip in. There is no shielding, so it does dry out, and you might have to scribble a little bit to get writing. But once you start writing, there's no skips, there's nothing like that. It's a fairly smooth writing experience, if a difficult one at times when you have to press down. Although, from my experience, that's mainly old cartridges, which you get with every pen. So now on to the Yafa Poquito pencil, which is 0.7 millimeters, not 0.5 as is fairly standard. As I said, this isn't the lead that came with it. I don't know if there is a lead that came with it. I'm just writing what was above it because I have no brain. I mean, the lead is nice. The pencil works alright. It does have a clicking, which does bother me, but it's so small that you probably would only be using it for quick notes. In long writing sessions, a click every time I press it down would definitely bother me. But as it stands, it isn't that bad. Since the pencil unit is kind of just a cartridge inside a body, it does feel a bit rickety. It doesn't feel... it feels structurally sound, but it feels a bit rickety, and it's not the most pleasant to use. But it's fine. It is a good little pencil for what it is, which is a ballerina pink. A pencil that goes with a ballerina pink pen that I got because they were the only set of Poquitos that actually match in color. Anyway, on to the fountain pen, which I've already uncapped, and you must use posted. Really, you must. This is the... Let me see if I can get you a good angle. The Yafa Poquito. I cannot write Poquito. This is the medium. It only comes in medium. The ink is the cartridge that I believe is Monteverde Blue. And I have messed that up. This is the Monteverde Poquito. Wow, I'm really great at this. Anyway, the pen is a bit scratchy. Won't get his jumps in at all. Oh my god. Can't believe that. Anyway, the pen is kind of scratchy, the nib, especially on the diagonal downstrokes. Feels a bit scratchy, but overall it's pretty smooth. It's not the best nib in the world. It does say Iridium Point Germany, which does not lead to the best of expectations. It does have a slight bit of line variation that you can squeeze out, although I wouldn't recommend doing that in a pen that is not advertised as a flex pen. The feed does keep up. Not even trying to write words there. The feed does keep up, as you can see. It's fairly good. I plugged the cartridge in, and I didn't even have to shake the pen. I didn't have to squeeze the cartridge like they recommend. It just wrote straight away. It isn't the best writer in the world, though. You might need a little bit of smoothing. You might need to find a replacement nib. The nib and feed, though, do seem to be a kind of stock nib and feed, so they seem to be easily removable, and it'd probably be easy to find a replacement nib. It does work really well, and it is crazy tiny. In a completely unfair comparison, here is the Jinhao 159. well, let's get a more fair comparison in here. Here is the Noodler's Nib Creeper, which is actually a fairly small pen in and of itself. Let's get a more regular size pen. Here is a Parker 45, which, as you can see, is a bit bigger than both of them. It's fairly standard around, but it is pretty tiny. It's really nice. I like it. I like having a set, even if they are kind of the wrong color. There's no other color combination that you get all the same color with these pens, which is unfortunate. And it thinks hello is a face, which I think is something good to end on. So, thank you for watching. Goodbye.